Hello, everyone. We're so happy that you joined us today. We have a really special guest. It's a friend of mine, and her name is Irene Blekther. And she has such an amazing story to tell about her journey. And so, what we've labeled this episode 6 as Past Lives, Hypnosis, and Human Healing. And I think you're going to really enjoy. Um, and understand and appreciate that, people come from many different cultures, from many different places, and what they do with their lives and how they move through all their challenges is really the key. And so she's going to talk to you about her darkness into light. And so I'm so grateful to have her today. She's a very special friend, and I've known her for a while. So also take a good look. You'll see that her website is Shift to Quantum Life, which is a registered trademark. She also has registered Vibrational Quantum Healing, which is her own trademark. And then you can reach her at Irene at Shift to Quantum Life. So that'll be up there through the whole thing. And so what I'm going to do now is welcome Irene, and I'm going to hand it off to Lenny.
Hi,
Hey,
thank you, Linda, for such a beautiful introduction, and thank you for giving me opportunity to tell my story and to share my story with you and your listeners.
We're grateful, so grateful, and I'm so excited.
As am I. And Irene, just want to thank you again for taking the time to just have a conversation with us and learn more about what you've been through, where you've come from. And man, you have a very, very diverse background in quite a few different mediums, it looks like to me. Um, would you mind I read your bio and thank you again for sending that over to us. Would you mind if I just maybe ask a few questions to you to kind of open up the dialogue?
Sure, go ahead.
The first one that jumps out to me is, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, your background, it almost seems like to me you've lived multiple lives from being an immigrant, in the corporate life to where you are today. Um, how does that all come together for you? And does it make this somehow they tie in together with your
Yeah,
current life?
yeah, yeah. So I like as you said, like multiple lives. It's
What
in
it seemed like
line.
to me.
It's in line with what I do right now as a past life regression practitioner. But let me start my story. I was born in Moldova and I grew up in Ukraine because my parents worked there. Because of my father's job, we moved a lot. So I attended three different schools in different towns. And during my 5 year college program, I studied in three universities, three colleges. Yeah. So with that, I never had a sense uh, that I have my hometown. So and when people would ask me, where are you from? I would tell them, I'm from the universe,
I like that.
which made sense years later.
Sure.
So after I graduated from college, I got married, had two children, and in 1989, we had an opportunity to immigrate to the United States. So we were leaving the Soviet Union country at that time, and they revoked our citizenship. They took away our physical diplomas, my college diploma, and some other documents. And regardless of what assets we had, we were allowed just to take with us a few $100s. So we arrived in New York City with a baby and toddler in our arms, a few $100s, and all our possessions fitted into a few suitcases.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. So fast forward, a few years later, I started working in New York City in financial sector in technology. And my job was pretty stressful, like financial sector, technology, new profession for me, because my degree was in mechanical engineering, and I just took few months training to become software developer. So and I was still learning English, so it was pretty stressful. So one day when one of my coworkers said, "Oh, there is a Chinese master in our gym doing stress relief um, uh, slow movement exercises." So I'm like, "Oh, this is for me." I sign up immediately without even thinking and knowing what it is all about. So I go to the class, and the Chinese master showing some movement, and I follow everything he's demonstrating. And then at some point he said, "Get in certain position, close your eyes," and I did that, and my body started like shifting back and forth, and I had a strong sensation that I'm standing at the edge of the cliff, and if I step forward, I'll fly. That was
Wow.
such a liberating feeling. And later on, I find out that was a Qigong class. But
Yeah.
this is how my spiritual journey started. So I came from the country where spirituality and religion was not promoted. It was not part of our life. I had zero background in spirituality. And all of a sudden, my body feels energy.
Hmm.
And I love that
Interesting.
feeling of feeling energy, and how and my body was feeling and my consciousness during these experiences. So I continued evolving spiritual while I'm still working in corporate, because we needed two incomes to have comfortable life and raise two children. So
Irene,
I
can I
was
pause you for just 1 second? I don't mean
sure,
to do that, but I want the
absolutely.
audience to know, did you hear her say that her background was in mechanical engineering? And then back in 1989, she hits with very little English, and all of a sudden she's doing programming and software development. That's so important for people to understand, because if you think you can't, you can.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just
No, no,
felt
no,
the
no.
audience needed to hit on that too.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
point.
So thank you for that. Yeah. So I stopped where I was talking about my career, right?
Mhm.
So I started a career as a new profession, and we needed like two incomes. But in parallel, I was spiritually evolving, because I was curious, and I was learning different spiritual techniques. I was attending different workshops, retreats. I was traveling to spiritual, powerful, energetic place. I mean, energetically spiritual places.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and just for my own spiritual personal development. So and then I decided that I want to, I mean, like years later, I decided to advance my career, and just to prove to myself and show my children that if you have a goal and you work hard towards this goal, you can accomplish it. So I was on the race of my career, and then boom, it suddenly ended. um, and Then I fully transitioned to healing space where I am right now. And this is how I connect all this, my different period of time of my life, to where I am today.
Well, and I'm going to add this too, just so that you know, she was high up in the corporate world as a female back in that era. And so so just think about this journey up until that point. And when she said all of a sudden it was over, I think those of you can probably imagine why it was over and what she was dealing with at a very high corporate level.
Thank you.
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to add to that. I mean, I actually, I don't want to assume anything. Um, what did bring that on? When you say boom, it was over. Like what year was that, for example?
It was 2018.
Mm, mm. So, Linda, what you're alluding to is there may have been behind the
A
scene.
female corporate workplace, female
Okay,
in a corporate male
Mhm.
dominated workplace. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. That's what it was.
that's what I'm trying to get at. We are honest here, and
And
feel free to speak the truth. Obviously, here, Irene, and appreciate that. But it obviously had another story to you, that
Yeah,
created
yeah.
this.
This is
yeah,
completely
it's a whole nother thing, but
it's
but it
another
is
story.
huge. And so I would just want, so just as I want the audience to think about this as we move along, because there's been many obstacles and challenges that she's moved herself through all of this.
Wow,
You just do whatever you have to
we do that every day, don't we?
do. Yes.
That's very interesting how you speak of. You said earlier that you're from the universe. Even before your awakening. I mean, that makes sense to you, even hindsight, when you went through all the moving around and, speaking of, I like to call it being a wanderer, but you weren't lost, right? Um, but looking back on that hindsight, did you always knew you were kind of awakened to it or your soul?
Well, at that time, it felt just natural to say. So,
Hmm.
as I said, I didn't have any spiritual education. So, it was not just any belief system. It was just like my personal statement just showed that I don't attach to any geographical location.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So years later, it was like, oh yes, it made sense that I was saying. So probably subconsciously, I knew
Mhm.
about myself, so
Yeah.
I was saying that. But at that time, it was just no. I'm just from universe. I'm
Right.
not. I don't belong to any place.
I think we all are actually, aren't we, Linda? Just from the
Yeah,
universe.
well, and
I'm gonna start putting when I fill out forms, universe.
I think, your soul was doing some talking to you. But at the time, you probably didn't recognize
I
what
had
it
no
was.
idea. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, but I think about it now and where we are now and where you are now and, your spirituality and your journey. And I'm thinking, isn't that cute? Your soul was talking to you and you didn't know it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
even cool.
Well, maybe her soul knew it. Maybe just on the
Yeah,
external surface
that's
didn't
really
know it,
what I'm
right?
saying.
Yeah. I mean,
Your
that's
soul
pretty
knew.
cool.
Hmm.
When you came to America, are you still in New York, Irene? Where you lived at?
No, I'm in Los Angeles.
You're in LA. Oh man, that's quite the switch. How long you been out there?
Just about 4 years.
Okay. Do you like it?
Love it.
Yeah. Compared to New York, I mean, it's quite the
I
shift,
miss
I
it.
would imagine.
I miss it a lot. Because I used
You
to
do,
live
Linda?
Oh, I miss Los Angeles. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I don't miss cold weather.
oh,
No.
we were talking about that earlier. We had tornadoes come through yesterday. I live in the Midwest, of course, near Missouri, and Linda's accustomed to that at some point. And, coming through Nebraska, there was a lot of damage coming through here, so we got to be safe at all times.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But back to you, Irene, on when you guys did come to America. My point is, I mean, you came with a couple $100 to like $300 where you mustered together, which you're allowed to bring. At that time, I mean, how did the darkness at that time feel to you? I mean, did you feel like there was hope? Was there some hopelessness there, or how'd you feel?
Yeah, so I had several periods of darkness, and some of them I already mentioned. So the first was that stepping into unknown and uncertainty, so not knowing how life gonna unfold for us. So we lived in country. At that time, it was still Iron Curtain on,
Mhm.
and we had very, very minimum information what's happening outside of the Soviet Union. So when we arrived in the United States, we almost didn't have any information, but we had strong belief that the United States is land of opportunities. And the first thing was like basic stuff, our basic needs, find the housing, start generating income, childcare, adaptation. Because as I said, we left everything familiar to us in one world, and we stepped into new reality with everything was new to us, and we need just to learn and adapt. On the top of that, I didn't speak English. My husband did, and I just knew a basic words and few phrases. Okay, so when my husband uh, um, took a professional training and started the job, I was home with kids because we could not afford childcare. I didn't have opportunity to take any English classes. And you're gonna laugh. I learned English by watching show I Love Lucy.
I don't. Oh, that's great.
I believe that.
It was funny. The English was very simple, and
Mhm.
eventually I was able to understand that.
Oh,
So that period, so the first darkness was like uncertainty. The second period of darkness was like when I could not communicate, I could not speak or understand English. Years later, when we had more or less financial stability and we could afford childcare, I took training and I got a job. So starting job in the financial sector was extremely stressful, especially stressful to me because we mentioned before, it was a new profession and I was still learning English. Okay. I was lucky enough that one of the coworkers noticed my struggles and started mentoring me. Yeah, that
oh,
I'm still
wonderful.
grateful for that person helping me. Yeah. So and then another period, like when I was on the raise of my career, and it suddenly ended. That was another darkness. Stepping out of that darkness led me to my current spiritual space and to my current practice. Yeah. So I mean, I would say the
Yeah.
several period of darkness, which I I think it was like transitioning period, and it helped me to shape who I am today.
Mhm.
I mean, from who I was and who I am now. Like if you look at these periods like as transitions and learning opportunities, so you can like say, oh yeah, it felt darkness at that moment, but you learn from it and you grow.
Well, and I've ever since I've known, I think about, it's one thing to immigrate into a small community. You immigrated into New York City. You know what I'm saying? Which a
Can't get much
lot of
bigger than that.
immigrants did. I mean, my ancestors and, I mean, I understand, but think about that compared to just small city somewhere,
Oh,
that's just kudos on, how you made that through, really. And I do believe that you've had a hand guiding you,
Oh,
you know. I do believe that.
thank
And
you,
that just says how special you are.
thank you, thank you.
no
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, that's what it's about, though. You just mentioned you just adapt,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my one of my final question I wrote down, and I think Lindy and I discussed a little bit, was just on adversity. You've had plenty of it throughout your life, but I guess my question would be: do you think that opened up to your spirituality, or were those abilities always there, just maybe a little bit suppressed, but they weren't able to come out of you until you were faced with challenges, if you will? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do believe that I had those abilities, and I'm lucky enough and grateful to the universe that it was presented to me in very easy way. Because a lot of people step on spiritual journey when something dramatic happens to them or they have like darkness in their lives. Okay.
Sure.
For me, it was like first Qigong class, and it's like boom, and I'm there. And I embraced it, and I continue learning and growing on personal and on spiritual level.
Sure.
Yeah, so I do believe my healing abilities opened at that time because my son was very little, and he would run to me saying, "Mommy, mommy, my ear hurts. Can you put your hand on my ear?" I would place my hand on his ear for 5 minutes, and then he would say, "I'm fine," and run away. And I'm like, okay, now looking back, I was like, oh, I was probably healing him because kids are extremely sensitive to energies. And then would be many episodes like I'm on the social gatherings, talking to friends and family, and somebody said, "Oh, I have pain in my shoulder," but I would continue conversation and automatically put my hand on the shoulder or neck or wherever. And then I would meet that person at the next social event, and it's like, "Oh, Irene, you helped me so much. I could sleep at night, and my pain is gone after I talked to you." It would startle me. I was like, "What did I do? I didn't do anything. I was not aware I was helping people." And funny enough, even when I started my spiritual practice, like hypnosis with past life regression, I still didn't consider myself an energy healing practitioner. So I was at Mount Shasta on some advanced training, and people who are sensitive to energy started asking me, "Irene, are you energy healer? Are you energy healer?" I was like, "No, but I do feel energy flowing in my body." So at the Mount Shasta, it was an opportunity to help someone. A person twisted food and was very upset because the following day we planned to hike at Mount Shasta and do group meditation there. And person was upset that it would not be a chance for that person to do it. So I just placed my hands without even touching around person's ankles, and that person started screaming with excitement, "Irene, Irene, what you doing? I can feel everything is moving inside." So next day, the person was able to join the group. So that episode inspired me to take certified training in energy healing. As I said, like I needed to have. I could not tell my clients, "Oh, I feel energy, I can heal you." You have to show credibility to your clients. So I took few certified programs to add it to my healing portfolio. Yeah, so I think abilities were there, but I do educate my clients that all of us have those abilities. We just forgot how to use them. Okay. And I'm teaching them how they can invoke and start using their own healing abilities. Yeah. So I guide them in their transformation and shifts.
You know, one of the things that I was thinking as you were was talking, when you actually were like a blank slate because of the way your culture was before, you know, and how nothing was allowed. And so many of us, let's say, if you've been raised with patterns or belief systems or structures, we're closed off, and awakening is a lot harder to find and do. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think you were such a blank slate that that's what catapulted your evolution so quickly. That's just my personal take, because it didn't have to ratchet through, you know, where you already had a belief system and you think one way, or your parents, you know, drove you into thinking another. And I could be wrong, but that's just
Good
my
point.
sense, you know, that's my gut sense. And so I think people now that are listening should really think about, if you're serious about doing some evolutionary changes, you know, trying to transform who you are a little bit, that to think about what patterns do you carry with you that are not healthy? What
Mhm.
whose beliefs did we take on that aren't our own? You
Mhm.
know, and how to find their own voice, which is something that you're doing in your work with your shift to quantum life.
Yeah. So I know these days so much information for people who would want to start their spiritual journey or would want to start their own transformation. And I'm sure it's overwhelming for people to find the right teacher or right practitioner. So I always give advice, just like meditate, use your own voice or like your own intuition to see which teacher or practitioner resonates with you, and do like baby steps. Start there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a, very good. I mean, that's good. It's a good way to do it and know that start listening to your internal system because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're just not quiet enough to listen, you
Yeah,
know.
I like what you said there, Irene, about we all have these abilities. We're just not quite sure how to tap into them, you know. You obviously are able to do that on a certain high level, but I think we've always been able to heal ourselves by frequencies possibly and energy. That's what it's all about.
Mhm.
I did want to get a little bit, just if you could touch upon uh, your hypnosis methods maybe and what that looks like from your perspective.
Yeah, so I didn't mention that. So as I was saying, I'm from the universe way before I started my spiritual journey. So while I was still in corporate and learning for myself, I discovered book Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss with such fascinating subject of past life regression. And when I found out that he's offering a professional training of past life regression at the Mega Institute, upstate New York. I signed up right away without even thinking and like knowing that I will be practitioner later on. So and then when my corporate career ended, I was accidentally introduced to Dolores Cannon's method, QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And I had an opportunity to experience it on myself. And it was so powerful and so fascinating that I was like, when my search for corporate job didn't happen because like I would that close to get a job and that position would be eliminated, or it would be a company's restructure, reorganization, and this position would be filled with internal resource. Or at one point, I even got an offer, and as soon as I started negotiating it, it was withdrawn from me. So, and then I was like, I stopped and reflected. I'm like, maybe universe is trying to tell me something. So, and the same time the Dolores Cannon method was introduced to me, I was like, let me try that. As soon as I sign up for training and become on this path, things started unfolding for me very fast. So I knew I'm on the right path. I never got back to the corporate. So and Lenny to hypnosis. So hypnosis is a lot of people have very wrong perception about hypnosis because a lot of people associate hypnosis with stage hypnosis or hypnosis they see in the movies or when a hypnotist takes control over a person's mind, and this is what scares most people. So, and I even have it on my website that truth and myth about hypnosis. So, the truth is, my clients under control. In the middle of the session, they can tell me they need to go to the bathroom or they need water or they need blanket or something. So, and first of all, like hypnosis is very natural state of our brain activity. So we have beta, alpha, theta, delta. We are in beta now. We're talking, we're communicating. alpha when we meditate, or we on an autopilot driving from point A to point
And you
B.
don't know it.
And like you got there, how I got here. So this is alpha. Theta, people experiencing just before they falling asleep, or when they just woke up and still in dream-like state, when there's still some vision or thoughts, but it's very short period of time. So in hypnosis, I'm transitioning people from beta to alpha to theta, and I'm keeping people in theta state for a long period of time until hypnosis is over. So they said it's very natural state of our brain activity, nothing is superficial. So, and people have control. They can tell me their needs during hypnosis. It's very interactive. Um, some people asking, what if I stay under hypnosis? People wake up in the morning naturally, so people get out of the hypnosis naturally.
True, true.
Hypnosis is not sleeping. Hypnosis is not amnesia. People do remember what happened to them, but it can fade. For example, if you have a dream, you wake up in the morning and like, oh, I had such a beautiful dream. Then you start doing something like, oh, what I was dreaming about.
Yeah.
Same thing with hypnosis. Right after hypnosis, people remember all of it, part of it, some of it. So, but that's why I'm recording the audio recording the session. But it's like a dream fades away. So, and the methods I'm using, it's not only past life regression. It also includes connection to the higher self, to subconscious, to receive healing on different levels, on physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic, and also to get answers to questions. Clients come to me with a list of questions. They want to know, what is my purpose in life? Should I change job? Should I move? So we have questions all the time. So our subconscious knows the best answer to us. So we just too busy thinking about everything else in the world
Mm-hmm.
to receive an answer. So when under hypnosis, a client receive the answer and can listen at home with that answer in their own voice, they know this is their truth.
I love it.
Very
And
interesting.
and I'm just letting the audience know that this summer I plan on having a session with Irene. I've never had hypnosis and I've never had past life regression, so I'm very, very interested.
Yeah, it's intriguing for sure.
Yeah.
Past life exploration.
Hmm.
So, if you had one thing to leave with the audience, what do you think that would be as far as being in darkness and moving to light? And what do you think would be good for them to
so,
know?
so I would say become the master of your own life. Okay, take
Love it.
control of your own life.
Love it.
Step out of victim mentality and blaming anyone else to things happening to you. Look at those opportunities as those episodes as opportunities to learn and grow, and see how things gonna start manifesting for you.
Beautiful.
Love it.
What do you think,
I'll,
everybody?
I'll just, I'll add to that because we've had a show on ourselves on adversity, right, Linda?
Yeah, yeah.
Where it reveals character. What you spoke on today, Irene, was a lot of adversity. And out of that became something quite beautiful in what you do now and healing. And we also, the other key part I wrote down that I'm going to try to make another note later on, but how we do have the ability to heal, and we all have that ability to maybe even heal some others if you're open to it actually and open to the universe allowing you to do those and react with positive frequencies. Now it's a lot easier saying that right now than actually putting it in practice because you said there's so much noise in our lives. But to the audience, try to block out that noise. Maybe take 5, 10, 20 minutes a day
Mm-hmm.
and that might turn it into an hour a day, right? Before you know it, some of the problems you thought you had, they may not be that big of problems that you actually have, right? So,
Yeah.
some really good stuff. I'm gonna try. I might hit you up on a hypnosis class as well, Irene, one of these days.
I will be happy to do that for you.
I'll proceed with caution.
Do you mind sharing for the audience what something like that would cost? A cost feature?
The information people can find on my website,
Okay,
and
good. Thank
it
you.
just suggested
Okay,
amounts. So I'm always open to negotiate, and I never turn away people who have financial challenges.
nice to
That's
know.
cool.
Yeah, so my goal is to help as many people as possible. Yes, I do have to pay my bills, but if
Oh yeah,
yes,
I
but
understand.
if a person has, as I said, financial challenges, I'm always open to negotiate.
Very nice. Very
beautiful.
nice. So Lenny, you always leave our audience with something. What have you thought of for this time?
Yeah, I mentioned a couple
Because there's
already,
so
but
much.
there was a lot we covered today in a short amount of time. But the main thing is, I also like don't be the victim. Don't have the victim mentality. And what I mean by that is take that adversity, take those challenges in life that I kind of mentioned earlier, and actually embrace them. And we mentioned that before too on some of our series we've had is embrace it because there's going to be something better on the other end of that if you do, opposed to focusing always on adversity, challenges, and playing the victim. That doesn't serve anybody, especially yourself, justified.
When we talked about vibration, and frequency, and I think it's important for people to know that truthfully, when you vibrate at a higher frequency, you're manifesting and you're bringing things to you.
Mm-hmm.
Your lower frequency when you're what we call our auras dull and everything like that, we're static and we're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah,
so it's so important with what Irene has shared today and what Lenny and I have been trying to do with the collective to understand is that we all go through stuff. Every one of us, it's just different. And so that's why these stories of personal stories of how someone has gone through such many, many, many challenges and still rises to the surface that there's blessings, and those are blessings, and then other people come into your life that are more authentic and more people that you want to be around and who
Right.
want to be around you, you know. Irene, I feel really blessed to have you today. I want to thank you so much for honoring us and saying yes, because I know
yeah.
that and just know that anytime you want to come back on, what we're going to do is we have one more official guest this month, and then Lenny and I will end up the podcast this kind of spring area with our own story. Then we'll do just illuminations through the summer, and then we'll come back from guest September to December again. So, I'd always love to have you back,
Thank you so
whenever you're
much.
ready.
And thank you for allowing me to share my story because we have to inspire each other. We have to support each other. And people need to know that they're not alone going through
Yes,
certain challenges. You bring people with different backgrounds and different stories. So, and your listeners, some of those stories resonate with them and it helped them to overcome
yes.
whatever they need to overcome.
Very good.
So
Well
true.
said, because that's what we believe at our heart, that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your culture is, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. We're all human. And
Mm-hmm.
we're actually one up in the
Yes,
ether. So, it's important to grab whatever resonates with you and then move with it. Just take one step forward
right,
and then
right.
another will come.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
So thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Irene.
Thank you. It was a
So
pleasure
nice to meet
speak.
you.
Yeah,
Good.
nice to meet you too.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a good
Take care,
day.
Bye.
everyone.